From the Dundalk area of our island place, and they're back off to do their thing there, their thing of Celtic spirituality, and I thank them for being here. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me again.
Dr. Lycia Trouton from Toronto in Canada.
It's one of the places.
One of the places you visit. And the Linen Memorial, of course, you've been touring in Northern Ireland with it since August, and things are happening at the moment. People have been meeting you. You've been in Newry, the Dominican. You've been in Warren Point with the Presbyterians. You've been in St. Mary's with the Church of Ireland in Newry. You're in Bessbrook before Christmas. And now you're being hauled away towards Dundalk, it would seem.
Or County Meath. I like that idea of the neck, between the living and the dead, the heaven and earth, as May was saying, And also this auspicious time of the year. I mean, kids celebrate Halloween, other people celebrate All Souls Day, other people are thinking about remembrance with the two world wars.
And then the pagan festival of Samhain is in there as well.
So it's an auspicious time for that kind of liminal space, I call it in arts terms. Because the community of what has gone past is really still with us, because we tell stories, we narrate about the past all the time.
Well, you have captured names of the past on the Linen Memorial. You have 400 linen white cloths, this kind of size. Women from various parts of the world have embroidered onto the white cloths in white linen thread the names of those who perished in our awfulness.
Yes, and it's interesting. You were talking about the moon, and we think about light coming through windows, and certainly some of the handkerchiefs hang in front of stained glass, or as you saw it at Corrymeela in 2008, underneath skylights. And what happens with the linen at that point is the linen almost disappears, and the names are hanging in space. And, we want to be with our loved ones sometimes if they're gone, and yet we cannot capture them back into our lives. But somehow touching a name, searching for a name, is a kind of helpful cognitive puzzle, especially if people, is my understanding, I'm no psychologist, but I've had to look at, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and people like that who talk about the dead and a sort of good death versus a traumatic death. Most of those, all of them on the Linen Memorial, are traumatic deaths in some cases, no bodies. As you are well aware, when you reported on Bloody Friday in Belfast in 1972 or 6, was it?
Bad time.
It's that kind of grief. If we don't obsess about the grief, not that we obsess about it, but excuse me, if my understanding is if you can, grieve all the different parts of it. There's some settling.
The ability to find a peacefulness somewhere in the midst of the jungle of the awfulness.
And the chaos, which it was and is.
But we've
you
seen
would know
that.
more than I about
we've
that.
seen that in the Linen Memorial. We're at one point, a woman goes and she finds her daughter's name. And she's there. And that woman said as she touched the thread that spelled out the name of her daughter, she said, it's all gone now, no bitterness anymore. Whatever bitterness was there is now gone. And the Linen Memorial was a kind of testimony to that healing thing that was going on within her. Both had gone in their separate directions, but the Linen Memorial telling people of loss and telling people of a new togetherness on the field of the memorial. And this woman had found her own togetherness with her inner self.
There's a certain democracy in death, and unfortunately, for better or worse, and that was the case with Joanne Riley's parents. They have come to terms with it. Obviously, it's taken many, many years, and yet, I'm sure privately there's different kinds of moments. This is a private and a public space. It's unusual in that way. People are writing in either you call it a guest book or a condolences book, and those parents actually did say something about reconciliation. I'm not sure everyone is there. We don't have to be. I'm not making any claims or statements at all, but
people are where they have
yeah,
to be in
yes.
the experience. And what fascinates me about it is the simple reality that the people are willing to be in the same space, the perpetrator, the victim. My daughter died, my uncle died, my brother died. He's the man who did it. They occupy the memorial. And some kind of way there's been a poulticing out of hurt and awfulness.
Well, I love that word, poulticing. I mean, you're so good at these words. And we just heard from these ladies involved in Celtic spirituality of that cauldron of letting go and a circle of smoke, which we saw in the Taizé service in the Dominican, and you were there.
Yes.
Father Joseph Ralph did a service where people could let go with the frankincense, wasn't it?
Yes.
Where we actually used a cauldron. Now, that might not be everybody's way of doing things, and certainly not in the Church of Ireland or the Presbyterian Church, but there are other ways, I suppose, to let go, and maybe the memorial is one of those ways. Look, there were people coming in a steady stream in Warren Point. You know, some people know 70. Some people know, as our family does, 7. Other people, it's more an historical narrative of the period of the 60s civil rights movement till the recent days. But all in all, it's it's a challenging space. It's good to go with a friend. It's good to chat afterwards. And those shared moments perhaps allow a different kind of Northern Ireland to emerge, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't make any grand claims. It's humbling experience.
You're a doctor of artistic endeavor. You studied art. You've made artifacts all your life. What took you on this problematic voyage?
Problematic voyage. Being from a problematic country, my dear. That is the question I get most, and I hope tonight at 7:30 at the Church of Ireland in Newry that I can help answer that. Why? It's been both professional and personal. But, artists over the years have looked at funerary objects. Tombs are one place that we discover ancient artifacts. Lycia, where my name is from, a place in ancient Greece, Asia Minor, was a place where there were a lot of stone tombs. So there's that. There's, of course, that my grandparents and my mother's family was from an interfaith zone, as they now call it, in Belfast. And watching people like you in the television in Canada in the 70s and 80s, sure. Being a sensitive kid with first generation, it's hard to imagine now, but first generation of TV in the living room, and then walking out the door to the peaceful, placid boulevards of Vancouver and kind of not making sense of that.
Is this maybe what it's in part about, that you have within you a guilt at having escaped the awfulness, and that you're now feeling it's payback time for all of those Elysium fields of Canada?
I think I can't speak for every immigrant, obviously, but immigrants have a strange space they inhabit. They've left, yes, they feel kind of lucky that they're not dealing with this every day. They're watching that their friends and family are dealing with it. And then they're also trying to anxiously kind of fit in. And in Vancouver, it was very, very sort of Anglo-British. Now it's very Pan-Pacific. The second language is almost Mandarin or Cantonese. It's a very certain context in every city. I've just come from London this morning, and every place has its own context. And we can go on about that as a post-colonial academic, but air travel before 1970s, the mid-70s,
it was a big thing then.
It was a huge
Now
thing.
the world is, and you can so easily come back here to that which you left.
And you can Skype and you can
Yeah.
FaceTime, and
Yeah.
it's a totally different immigrant experience. I mean, it's actually fun, and there's two stories in our family, that, as many Irish immigrants have over the years, who've gone to either Canada or Australia, one sibling to one place, one to the other. Apparently, my parents flipped a coin, Perth or Vancouver.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But yeah, and then as an artist, wanting to contribute, not wanting to just make art about something I was interested in, but I went to a kind of competitive master's program in sculpture, and we were encouraged to do something serious and for the greater community.
Can you remember the moment, and where did it occur? The moment of eureka, I am going to do the Linen Memorial.
You're so good with these questions. Yeah, I can actually. I had worked for about 6 weeks in Waterworks Park off the Antrim Road in Belfast. And I had toured a lot of the linen sites. I guess I'd gone to the Lisburn Museum. I went to Guildford Mill, which is now a shopping mall. And having grown up with the stories of the trauma, I just thought, there's some kind of, for lack of a better word, palpable kind of grief here that I do not feel when I'm in North America. I just don't have that feeling. And I thought, geez, I have to sort of do something about this. As an artist, you're sort of searching for your own cultural background. And then you've grown up in this diversity, this multicultural, wonderful diversity, and you're always talking about people who are different and people who are interesting and different than you, and kind of trying to, enjoy that kind of groovy, aspect of life, which we now call, let's have some fusion food or something. So I flew back to, Canada, and I was getting ready for the next project, and the internet was kind of, it was slow. You'd get an email, and that email was important instead of one of 50.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And my father had got an email from his friend in the Sub-Aqua Club,
Yes.
as you were in,
Yep.
I understand, dotted around Ireland,
Absolutely.
north and south.
Yep.
They all swam together. And it was about this names list, public names list. And I thought, well, that's it. I had studied the Vietnam Memorial. I had looked at, I had professors that were Jewish and obviously talking about the Holocaust period. From time to time, I had a professor who had been a pilot in World War II, a sculpture professor, Douglas Pickering. And I grew up with people just a bit older than me who were absolutely politicized by Vietnam and the civil rights movement. Absolutely. So
it was a natural. It flowed.
Yeah, I was interested in civil rights, yeah. And I suppose that as a Protestant, you have some guilt about that. Yeah, you are the privileged set, you are a WASP.
Thank you for coming in. We wish you well. Where will people see you?
Church of Ireland, Newry for the next few days. And then Bessbrook, 4 o'clock on the 14th of December after the carol service, which starts at the Catholic Church and then moves over to the Church of Ireland and the Church Hall. So tea and coffee in the Church Hall on the 14th. If you have time in between your Santa runs and your other stuff with family over the Christmas season.
Take the whole family. Come
Well,
and see it.
the community of what's gone is part of who we are today.
Lycia Trouton, Doctor of Art, visionary, creator of the Linen Memorial. Thank you very much indeed for coming
Thank you, Santa Claus.
It sometimes seems that way, I tell you. The beard comes at Christmas time and keeps one warm.
And this is a wonderful staff.
Isn't it a good staff, that? Yes, indeed. It's,
I hope you're following in the steps of Jesus with this.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, I don't know
You look like
about
the
that.
shepherd.
Well, now, the shepherd would be great. Yeah, it's all good. But sure, this is made by man.